The Rio Sucuri in the Bodoquena highlands of Mato Grosso do Sul, Brazil, is a karst stream, whose waters are crystal clear for the first few kilometers, having emerged from their source spring nearby, and which have not yet had time to become turbid from detritus and sediment from the surrounding forest. The transparent waters permit plenty of sunlight penetration, which in turn leads to dense aquatic vegetation. The Sucuri has become a tourist destination, with many people coming from around the world to snorkel and observe the species of fish and plants found here. It is therefore carefully managed and preserved, with visitor numbers per day limited. Long stretches of the main river channel are filled with Potamogeton iloensis, a fast-growing plant which provides cover for large species such as Bricon hilari, and the carp-like Procylodus lineatus. Small fishes also make use of the cover of the plants, such as the lively copper-coloured Jupiaba canthogaster, who battle the strong current and glint in the sunlight. It is possible to see water bubbling up through the substrate, emerging cool and clear from deep underground, having been filtered through karstic bedrock. Bushes of pale green Bacopa australis rise here and there, contrasting beautifully with the soft textures of Myriophyllum aquaticum swaying in the current. Meadows of olive-green Chara rusbyana weave between the valleys and vales of the taller plants. In these ideal growing conditions, the plants are in photosynthesis overdrive, evidenced by the clouds of bubbles streaming from their leaves. Of course, terrestrial plants do this too. We just can't see the oxygen they provide, although we depend upon it for our survival. Myriophyllum aquaticum usually retains a greenish colour, but in the bright tropical sun it exhibits rusty reds and sunburnt oranges, forming huge beds. This plant provides shelter for many small fishes, a place of relative safety among the dense stems. Out in the open water, the slim, lime-green shapes of Bricon milenorus glide with the flow, their large eyes scanning the surface for any insects unlucky enough to fall into the water. Perhaps the most attractive fish in the river is the flashy Mulcausia bonita. The males swan around with their elongated white finnage, with hints of red and white tips on their tails, grabbing our attention, and importantly, that of the female Mulcausia. The males will also display to each other, sizing up their opponents, and seeing who has the most beautiful, colourful fins. The females are easily distinguishable from the males, as they lack the latter's fancy finnage. Jupiaba acanthogaster pick at algae and biofilm growing on leaves. Their opportunistic, generous diets and the fact they breed year-round have made them the most abundant fish in the river. Fallen logs sit heavy among the stands of plants like great beached whales. Fishes graze algae and biofilm from the surface of the wood, while armoured catfish such as Ancistrus may be found in hollows and crannies in the dead trees. Stands of Ludwigia peruviana, with their reddish foliage, rise to the surface, while fishes dance through and around their thick woody stems. Among the furry tangle of roots, the bright blood-red forms of Hyslus bumble and flit about, foraging low over the substrate. The layers and trenches created by the vegetation creates a dynamic structural habitat which draws you in, eager to explore and see what's over the next rise or lurking in the shadows. Hovering among the plants, flighty Characidium laterale zoom and twitch, picking morsels from between the stems and leaves. Perched out on the open sand, Characidium zebra catch your attention as they scoot around, their eyes roving about, chameleon-like, searching for food and danger. bubbling sand on the bottom signifies water emerging deep from within the earth. Although beautiful to look at, this habitat doesn't come without its risks. Here, danger is present in multiple forms, including the blunt-headed, toothy ambush predator, Popularitrinus unetiniatus, the golden wolffish, which can be seen gliding about near the margins. Aside from the wolffish, other predators here include the toothy Ancestrorhynchus pantanedo, the golden dogfish, a pure piscivore, and the pike cichlid Crenicycla lepidota, a generalist with a taste for small fish. Over open substrate, small groups of Steindechnerina brevipinna forage, rubbing in the sand for edible detritus and aquatic invertebrates. The substrate here is comprised of broken snail shells, sand, detritus and sediment from the forest. Hidden away among the plants, amorous goings-on as a male attempts to woo a female. Coasting through the main river channel and sliding into the stands of plants, Procylodus lineatus, known here as corimba, gather together. These fish sift the substrate, taking mouthfuls and expelling non-edible material through their gills. Small fishes trail them, hoping to grab any leftover morsel, a process known as a nuclear follower relationship. Deep-bodied characins, Astyanax lacustris, known as lambari, are seen darting among the plants. Hardy generalists, they are common across the Paraguay River basin. Carpets of the water lily Nymphea gardneriana flow over the substrate in a tapestry of reds, oranges and yellows, blending with vivid green clumps of algae. This species is unusual for a water lily in that it puts out horizontal runners and forms carpets rather than growing only from a single rhizome. Where sunlight is strong, it remains dense and low and turns red to mauve to yellow and orange. In the low light, it remains green, more sparse, and grows up towards the surface, poking its way through leaf litter in the margins shaded by the trees above. Low carpets of Helanthium bolivianum spread over the riverbed, the tropical sunlight highlighting the soft greens, reds and pinks of their leaves as they sway in the current. Stands of broad-leaved Echinodorus macrophyllus crowd together, bending and twisting in the flow. As much as aquarium enthusiasts might hate it, algae is an integral part of aquatic ecosystems. Taking shelter among the roots of Ludwigia peruviana, small fishes gather together in the structurally complex habitat, hoping to avoid the predators in the open. Nearby, in deeper water, the tall, elegant forms of Pontidaria parviflora reach up to the surface, bending in the flow. In places, the banks are shaded by the overhanging trees from the forest above, and few aquatic plants can grow. Here, exposed rock, root systems, algae and detritus combine to form a mysterious, shadowy world. Bricon hilari, known locally as piripultanga, can often be found circling beneath fruiting trees, either waiting to snap up any fruit or seeds that fall into the water, or, if need be, they will leap and pluck them from the branches. They will even follow troops of monkeys, hoping to grab morsels dropped by the primates. These fish are important as seed dispersers across the Paraguay River basin, as are the chunky corimba, who will also eat fallen fruits and who venture out over flood meadows far beyond the river channel in the wet season, depositing the seeds and creating new forest, often miles from the river. Where sunlight does pierce through the trees along the bank, aquatic plants colonize the sluggish waters of the margins. Forests of Potamogeton illinoensis and Pontidaria parviflora rise up, creating a green maze of stems. At their feet, Nymphaea gardneriana litter the lower levels. Despite their size, even the piripultanga have predators here. The dorado, Salminus brasiliensis, a salmon-like fish which can grow over a meter and whose favourite food happens to be piripultanga. As juveniles, dorado look almost identical to B. hilari, allowing them to join their shoal and take advantage of the safety it provides. However, as they mature, dorado begin to change their pattern and coloration until they look very different from the bricon and can no longer imitate them and remain within their shoal. But by then they have spent years growing alongside their future prey, learning their strategies for avoiding predation, and when they are most vulnerable. Such knowledge better equips the now adult dorado to prey upon the piripultanga. One of the smallest and yet most notable fish in the river, the tiny Hyphus abraconechis, is truly a gem. In the clear waters their red coloration appears impossibly bright. Quite why they exhibit this coloration is not yet known. It may help them when they shoal together in large numbers, making it difficult for a predator to pick out an individual. However, they are usually found in fairly small groups, so this appears to be rather an unhelpful trait for most of the time. Perhaps a better strategy is that of Phenocaugusta tigatus, also known as the three-spot tetra. Their bodies are partially translucent and their eyes, combined with the spots on the flanks and their tails, make it difficult for a predator to know which end is the head, thus making them uncertain of their attack. Predators like the pike cichlids, lurking through debris and algae on the riverbed, hoping to snap up an unsuspecting, careless tetra. Or the lithe golden dogfish, who often gather near the margins, hoping to surprise and trap small fish against the bank, with nowhere to go but out of the water or into the jaws of these fast, agile, torpedo-like hunters. The best bet for small fishes is to remain among the tangled roots of the Ludwigia in the shallows. Here the tetras Moncausia foresti and their larger, shy cousins Moncausia oligolepis flit and dart about alongside other small characins, such as Moncausia dicrura, whose black and white tail tips appear to twitch as they move. Life out in the open isn't for everyone, and sometimes hanging about at the edges pays off. The charm of the Rio Sucuri belies the cutthroat nature of this habitat, but we can still marvel at the intricacies, relationships, and yes, the beauty of its aquatic flora and fauna.